The unit circle always seems like it's very, very complicated, and looking at things like this picture, it makes it seem like it is. But just by way of review, remember that the unit circle is set up on a Cartesian coordinate system where we've got our x-axis and our y-axis. The radius of our circle is 1 unit, which is why we call it the unit circle. Now, whenever you're working with the Cartesian coordinate system or the xy axis, if you remember, this is the first quadrant over here, the second quadrant here, the third quadrant here, and the fourth quadrant here. And normally you memorize, okay, which quadrants is my x value positive, which is it negative? Obviously it's positive here and negative here. And you do the same for y. When is my y positive and my y negative? Well, obviously your y is positive in these two quadrants and negative in these two quadrants. Now, the reason that you memorized that so long ago is when it comes to the unit circle, we're looking at, remember, our sine of our angle is going to be our y value. So here at pi sixths, all we need to do is look at what is this point. Well, it's square root of 3 over 2, 1/2. So the sine of pi sixth is our y value, or 1/2. Cosine of pi over sixth is going to be our x value, or square root of 3 over 2. Okay, so now you'll notice that really all you need to memorize are these special angles, pi over 6, pi over 4, and pi over 3, and also pi over 2, but really the 0 and pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi. Those are fairly easy to remember. These three angles are really the only ones that you're going to need to memorize, and you'll want to memorize their points, which means you're also memorizing their sine and cosine values. Now, the reason you only need to memorize this quadrant is if you look at what's happening now over in this quadrant, our x and y values are exactly the same. Now we're only looking at where are my x values negative, where are my y values positive. So all those things you learned in the quadrants now is going to come into play. So if you have all of these memorized here, you now have all of these memorized, and you have all of these memorized, and you have all of these memorized simply by remembering where my x values are positive and where my y values are negative. So take the time to learn this first quadrant, the special angles within this first quadrant. Whether you're remembering them in radians, pi over 3, pi over 4, pi over 6, or in degrees, 30, 45, and 60, really isn't going to make much of a difference. I would get in the habit as you're working with trig to learn the radians. Make sure you know how to find radians, how to go back and forth from radians to degrees. But just get in the habit of using radians. But take the time to memorize this first quadrant. Memorize the sines and cosines by just really, if you memorize those 3 points, it's going to open up all sorts of things for you as far as just ease of remembering things as you're working with different equations. Hopefully this is helpful to you. Please like and subscribe if it is. Pass this information on to others who may be taking a similar class to you or may be interested in learning this. And as always, thanks for watching.